Hey, hi. I wanted to check in and say hello because I haven't made a video in so very long, pretty much since I got preggo. But I wanted to check in and say hi and make a video and just sort of share with you something that happened to me this week. I got really, really sick. I got a cold that turned into the cold from hell. I like to make things up in my head. I don't know if you get this, where like you just make up research or facts that you didn't actually research, that is not actually factual, and in your mind it's true. Well, for me, in my mind, when you get pregnant, your immune system becomes super strong. That's not true. That actually doesn't happen. The opposite happens. Your immune system gets really, really weak because your body is working so hard to make sure that you don't reject this thing that's inside of you. It's like an alien body, and your body has to somehow lower its resistance to weird things happening to it. So like when cold germs come, your body's super low in resistance, apparently. I don't know. And I'm used to, when I start getting sick, I start pounding things that are not necessarily safe or tested in pregnancy. So I can't go taking wellness shots of golden seal and echinacea and weird Chinese herbs that taste really disgusting. So I basically had no defense immune-wise, and I had no defense herbally or chemically against getting sick. Thanksgiving night is when I started feeling that, that tickle in your throat. And then that led to scratchy, weird, dry coughing, and then sneezing, and then boom, I was sick. And I couldn't do anything about it for a couple of days because I didn't have a fever. I just was sort of trying to ride it out, still getting up and doing normal stuff, but kind of losing interest in like eating because I couldn't taste anything. And then eventually it all came to a head on Wednesday, and I had to break down and go to the doctor. And I hate going to the doctor, not just because I didn't have health insurance for so long, but also because for some reason going to the doctor to me is like an admitting of defeat. It's so crazy. I'm just one of those sort of tough it out kind of girls. I hate calling out sick. I hate telling people that I can't do things because I'm sick, because I always feel like you can just suck it up and take a lozenge. I'm also one of those kind of I get really annoyed when people don't show up to things that I'm planning because they're sick, because I'm always like, how sick are you? I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that I know for me, I try really, really hard to put up a strong front. I think I get that from my dad, who was a Marine, and I just know some of the ordeals that my dad had to go through as a soldier, and also later in life. I've watched him do crazy things while he had really difficult illnesses like pneumonia. He was part of a team of civilian evacuation administrators in Saigon in 1975. He was there for 3 weeks secretly evacuating people in Vietnam. This is like so off topic, but not really. And he went to Vietnam in early April of 1975. And then he promptly got walking pneumonia because my dad was a heavy smoker, and he was just prone to getting chest colds. And then, if that turns into pneumonia, then you're really screwed. But it was walking pneumonia, so he wasn't like flat on his back the way many of you who have had pneumonia might have been in your past. So he just, he couldn't call out sick because he had a job to do, and that was to try to get 40,000 people out of Saigon before the communist takeover happened on May 1st, 1975. It's a little, maybe you've heard of it. I don't know. It's kind of a crazy story. But he didn't stop. He didn't quit. He pressed on. I think he worked for days straight. He's a machine. He was a machine. He was a beast. And I very much admired him for that. And once he was cutting the grass and he tripped over a sprinkler, it was like a sprinkler thing. I don't know what it was. I didn't actually see it. I think I was only 10 years old. And it cut his foot so bad that it sliced an artery. an artery, okay? And he knew he had sliced an artery because I guess his foot was spurting blood and we had to take him to the emergency room and he was bleeding all over the floor. It was bananas. And he was just like, get me to the hospital. And he took his handkerchief, because he always would carry a handkerchief, and he stuffed it in his foot and just stuck it in there and was like, get me to the hospital. A beast. And as squeamish as I am about some things, there are also other things that I'm very, very resistant to. I have very high tolerance for pain, and I grew up watching a man tough it out, and so I thought, well, I have to tough things out too. And so that's why it took me so long to break down and say to my husband, I think you need to take me to the doctor because I'm not getting any better, and I'm actually starting to think that this could get really bad because I'm pregnant, first of all, and I need to know, like, if I need medicine, what can I take? I can't just troubleshoot. So we go to the doctor, and I mean, I'm like, it's miserable. Like, it's 2-hour wait in the urgent care, and I'm just, ugh. And I get what I need. I get amoxicillin, which apparently is safe for pregnant women. I get Robitussin that doesn't have any alcohol or any sugar in it. It's like diabetic Robitussin that's safe for pregnant women, and it's also safe for people like me who are susceptible to alcohol in any shape or form. I like to live a very clean and sober life when it comes to alcohol, so I can't have alcohol in my cough syrup. And I didn't get better right away. It was good that I started the antibiotics. It was good that I finally admitted that I was that sick. I had to call out sick from work. I had to miss a huge event that I was so excited to go to and work at. And, it was awful. I thought about, like, the times when I missed things in school because I had strep throat, the kind of things that you can't just pretend you don't have and just work through. Like, you can't just work through pneumonia or strep throat. But my dad was the kind of guy that did, and so I thought that I had to do that too. And the point of what I'm saying is, there was a moment this week where I felt so alone. And I know you've probably experienced that too, that kind of loneliness where no matter how many people are there for you or reach out to you or offer their hand to you, you know that this is between you and the unknown. There is nothing really assuring you that you're going to get through this. You have faith, ideally. You don't remember what it feels like to be well. All you know is that you're miserable and you're trying to just take it one breath at a time. And I'm a one day at a timer kind of person. So when you and that's hard enough, one day at a time. How about one breath at a time, one throat lozenge at a time? I hadn't been this sick in a really, really, really long time. I was worried about the baby. I was worried about my job. I was worried about what people thought about me not showing up for stuff that they were counting on me for. And I was sitting in the bathtub with the water running because my husband is a big proponent of steaming up the shower. So was my friend Toby. He was like, you got to get in there and make a sauna. No, is this like a guy thing? I have never done this before. I mean, I've heard of people doing this when they're like drunk and sad, sitting in the bottom of the shower with the water running like on top of them. I don't do that. My showers are like 2 minutes long because I got things to do. But he said, sit down. My husband said, sit down in the shower and let me just pour the water all over you and just start coughing all that stuff up. So I'm sitting down at the bottom of the shower and I'm annoyed. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that time for myself and actually recover. I have that mentality. I either want to be totally well or I want to be like incapacitated so I can't feel what's going on. I don't want to be in process of healing because it's hurting. It hurts to go through any kind of healing process, whether it's emotional, psychological, or physical. So I'm sitting at the bottom of the tub and the water is pouring down and I'm coughing. I mean, like retching coughing, trying to get some of this congestion loosened up. And I'm preggo, so like my belly's taking up all this space. So my ribs up here, every time I cough, I feel like I'm cracking a rib. Oh, and the best part is because my bladder is so weak, basically, if I have a bad coughing fit, I lose my bladder. Like it's like straight up pee my pants. And that was happening pretty much every 30 to 35 minutes. I was losing control of my bladder, so I had to go and sit on the toilet before I would have a coughing fit. I'm sitting here thinking, I am in hell right now. And it took sitting at the bottom of the bathtub with the water pouring down. Chad had left me in there to steam the bathroom. And I just started crying. I just started weeping because I felt so low. I felt so alone. And I knew that none of that was true. I wasn't alone. I have a loving man outside the door, making a sandwich or doing whatever he had to do. I had friends who were praying for me. I had family that knew, I had so much around me. But sometimes that doesn't matter. You're in a place sometimes. You find yourself in a place sometimes where it's just you and the abyss. And in that moment, I chose to make that abyss God. So the abyss didn't have to be, I'm going to look up abyss really quick because I want to prove a point about what I'm talking about. Like the abyss. So abyss, the definition of abyss is a deep or seemingly bottomless chasm. A deep or seemingly bottomless chasm. So a hole, bottomless and deep and unfathomable. I chose to make that God. And I stood at the face of a seemingly bottomless chasm, and I chose to relate to it in such a way that the possibility was before me to be whole again, because I knew that God wanted it so. There was nothing I could do to hurry the process along. And even though I was alone in terms of human ability, my mom couldn't make it better. My husband couldn't make it better. None of the people in my life could make it better. They could try, but they couldn't actually make it better. But I knew God could, and he would, but I needed to ask him. And it's funny that I hadn't really done that yet at that point. Even though I feel like I'm a godly woman, I have a relationship with God, I have a relationship with Christ, but I hadn't asked him because I felt so terrible that I had forgotten. It's so weird how that happens. We just forget sometimes that we're constantly being put in situations where we're staring at an abyss, and we have to choose whether that abyss is frightening and terrible, or whether that abyss is a reminder that we can't do it by ourselves on our will alone. And that's what ended up happening. I had to just reach out and pray and ask God to please help me, because I needed him. And it wasn't the kind of prayer that I used to have before I had a relationship with God, where it was like, if you're out there, if anyone's out there, please. It was like, hey, I forgot that I had you, and I feel so alone right now, and I need you. I need you to come in and do this for me, because I am so broken right now. I don't know what to do. I can't do it alone, and I just feel completely powerless. And in that moment, I went, this is why we find ourselves in these terrible, tragic, treacherous moments. It's not because we're being punished. It's not because we are being tested. It's because stuff happens. Life happens. Germs happen. Immune systems weaken. And we find ourselves alone facing some of the most frightening and challenging circumstances. And it's really good in those kinds of moments to remember who to turn to And it's very gratifying to know that I have been brought to my knees, metaphorically and literally, many, many times, and I finally know who I'm supposed to turn to when I find myself there. It doesn't have to take days and days and days of feeling lost and scared and hopeless. So I just wanted to share that with you because I figure someone else should benefit from it besides me. Anyway, this is Evie. Look, she's smiling. I feel like she's smiling in this picture. She's like, hey guys, look at me. I got elbows. Anyway, well, thanks for listening and watching this, and I hope that this helps you too. And if it doesn't, why did you watch this much of it? All right, talk to you later.